Gray Snake was the fanatical leader of a small band of Arapaho. His daring guerrilla tactics had been causing plenty of trouble, and 3 officers had been killed under rather strange circumstances. My old friend Colonel Middleton wanted an undercover investigation. That's why George and I were here, decked out as soldiers.
Reckon you must be Captain Smith. Go right in, the old man's expecting you.
What's your name, Sergeant?
Stringer. Sir?
Sergeant Stringer, the next time we meet, I'll expect a salute from you. And I'll expect you to remember how to address an officer. Any questions?
Looks like another one of them spit and polish boys, Kurt. Yeah. Another dandy target for that engine.
All 3 men were shot in the forehead with an Army revolver.
And Gray Snake has one.
Yes.
That's pretty good shooting for an Indian, Colonel. From the back of a running horse at that.
Too good. Oh, he might have got in a lucky shot. But he couldn't have killed all 3 men in the same way. No, much as I hate to think so, Tom, it has to be one of my own men.
What do the men think?
They seem to think it's Gray Snake, all right. He's becoming a legend with them. And that red devil certainly believes he's responsible. He's been boasting that his medicine is stronger than ours, and he'll wipe out all of our officers.
Sounds like someone's making use of that.
Yes. Someone who must have a grudge against officers.
I'll see that whoever it is has reason to hate me, too.
You'll have free hand in this, Tom. How do you want to proceed?
First, I'd like to find out all I can about the officers who were killed.
I have their files right here. Maybe you can find something I couldn't. This is Captain Carter's record. He was the first man killed. Lieutenant Andrews was a friend of the family, and I practically raised him. Mason was just a kid. Been out here about a month.
That's a shame. Colonel, if it's all right with you, I'll take these over to my quarters and study them tonight.
Yes, certainly. Well, Carrie will be sorry she wasn't here to greet you. She's out riding. Should be back soon.
Out breaking some poor soldier's heart, I'll bet.
Yeah, she hasn't changed much. Oh, I warned her not to give you away.
Good. Colonel, it'll be a pleasure serving under you, sir.
Captain Smith, Corporal Forsythe. Corporal Forsythe, show the captain to his quarters.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. You want to go riding the same time tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. Welcome to the fort, Captain. I'm Colonel Middleton's daughter, Carrie.
My pleasure, Miss Middleton.
Father and I'd be pleased if you'd join us for supper tonight.
You're a servant, ma'am. Know enough to knock when you enter officers' quarters, Corporal?
I'm sorry, sir. Smitty, we gotta go through all this business.
You need the practice.
I'll never get the hang of it. Boy, sure look neat in this getup, Smitty. Wish I could have been an officer.
You don't mind your manners, I might just break you to buck private.
Well, you wouldn't talk like that if you know where I've been this afternoon.
No?
Well, I've been doing some nosing around. Little detective man Moan. Come up with some hot suspects for you.
Well, that's good work, George. Who are they?
Well, Smitty, you'll find this hard to believe. But you know, just about every soldier on this fort's got a bone to pick with officers.
You're a big help, George. Thanks a lot.
Where my heart longs to be. But
beautiful night, isn't it, Tom? Look at that moon.
You know, Carrie, this Army life's not too bad.
It has its moments. I don't recognize that voice.
Oh, that's my orderly.
It's wonderful having you here, Tom. Seems like old times.
It does bring back a few pleasant memories, doesn't it?
Yes. What?
What's your name, soldier?
Private Owen, sir.
Roger, what are you doing here?
Well, Nothing.
Why were you hiding?
Well, I thought I heard something in the stable, sir.
You certainly took a roundabout course getting there. All right, on your way, soldier.
Yes, sir.
Carrie, I think that young man's stuck on you.
Maybe a little. Poor fellow seems so lonesome all the time. I try to be nice to him.
You know, I bet every man in this fort is secretly in love with you.
I don't have much competition.
Boys are lucky to have you around.
I don't know, Tom. It seems I've been bad luck for the men I've really cared about.
What do you mean?
Captain Carter and I had just announced our engagement when he was killed.
I'm sorry.
I was lonesome and unhappy. Bob Andrews came here shortly after. He and I had practically grown up together. It's good to have someone to confide in. I was just getting to be myself again, and after that, I didn't want to make friends with anyone for a long time. Then young Lieutenant Mason came here. We were just starting to become friends when... Oh, Tom, do be careful.
I intend to.
Got a lot to learn.
He ain't my captain, O'Neill.
You showed up here with it. You know, it's bad enough to have to serve in this stinking place without having to put up with officers like him, shoving his weight around. Gentlemen. By act of Congress. That kind don't last long around here.
Well, don't blame me for bringing him out here. He brought me.
You ain't much better.
What did you mean by that?
Take it any way you like.
Come on, man, break it up. How about another song?
Oh, say, Corporal, when you get your nerve built up enough, remember, I got first crack at you.
You know, I'm going to oblige you. Right now, though, let's do Army on. Pep up this griping outfit.
3 years ago this very day, I went to Governor's Isle to stand for an Insta-cannon in true military style. Our 13 American dollars each month we surely get to carry a gun and bayonet with a military step. Yo, there's Sergeant John McCafferty and Corporal Donahue. They make us march up to the Grjngo and company queue. The drums they roll upon me soul, for that's the way we go. 40 miles a day on beans and hay in a regular army, oh. The best of all the officers is Second Lieutenant McDuff. Of smoking and of sleeping, he never got enough. Says the captain, all we want of you is to go to Reveille, and we'll let the first sergeant stay and run the company. Yo, there's Sergeant John McCafferty and Corporal Donahue. They make us march up to the Grjngo and company queue. The drums they roll upon me soul, for that's the way we go. 40 miles a day on beans and hay in a regular army, oh.
Yeehaw! Hey, Richmond!
I thought taps sounded over an hour ago. I'm going to establish a little discipline in this outfit. What's wrong with your hat, O'Neill? Is it glued on? What kind of an example are you setting for these men, Sergeant?
A good example for a real soldier. Sir?
If you're looking for trouble, Sergeant, I'll see that you get plenty of it.
Well, why not now?
Just a minute, Sergeant. Let's be fair about this. You promised me the first dance, remember?
that's enough, both of you. Well, you men seem to have a lot of excess energy. That's fine. I think I know just the way to help you get rid of it. I want every one of you on that parade ground at daybreak. And you two will get a little special attention. Now, lights out. Corporal and Sergeant Stringer. You two still look fresh. I think you better take a few more turns around. Come on the double. Close it up, Romack.
Speak to you, sir.
Well?
Gosh, Smitty, ain't this carrying things a little too far?
Had to make it look real, George. Besides, you can spare the pounds.
But I'm plumb played out.
That'll be all, Corporal. On the double, close it up.
On guard! Detailed, hit, hut! All right, let's liven it up a little bit. On guard! Detailed, hit, hut! At ease. You men handle these sabers like a bunch of pitchforks.
Tom said he'd give all the men good reason to hate him. He's off to a good start.
I hope he doesn't carry it too far.
Corporal Forsythe. Hit. Hut! 2 paces forward. Hut! You seem to know what you're doing with that. On guard. Come on, soldier. You can do better than that. You handle that saber well, soldier.
Thank you. One of them worked. You'll never guess what I found out.
That he graduated from Virginia Military Institute, and his name isn't Forsythe.
Well, how'd you figure that out?
Only a Confederate officer would have handled a saber like he did. And VMI taught most of it.
Now, what's the use of me missing my lunch if you already know all about him?
I don't know his real name, George.
Well, it's Lieutenant Wayne F. Charlton.
Charlton, huh? Well, I'm not too surprised. A lot of Southern officers came out to the frontier to join the Army after the war.
Wasn't there Charltonville burned to the ground during Sherman's march?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there was.
According to these records, Carter served with Sherman.
That's right. Should we call Forsythe in for questioning?
Well, not yet, Colonel. Don't tip her hand. There's nothing definite here to link him to the murders of Andrews and Mason. Captain Carter seems to have made a lot of enemies.
Yes. Carter was a good officer, but too much of a disciplinarian.
I noticed you had to warn him about flogging. And some of the men he had whipped are still here. Owens and O'Neill, for instance.
I left Carter in charge once when I had to go back east. The men were ready to mutiny when I returned. That's when I called him up about the whippings. Soldiers won't take too much of that.
He had a run-in with Stringer, too, didn't he?
That sergeant's always been in trouble with the officers. He resents all West Point men. Thinks he's a much better soldier than any of them. About half right, too.
Well, there are 3 or 4 men here who could be guilty. I think we'd better call them a little closer before we come out in the open.
I hope everything goes well, Tom.
Good luck.
Thanks, Carrie. I'll see you this evening, huh? George and I hadn't been able to uncover anything new, and Chief Richards had only loaned us to the Army for a week. So I decided we'd have to bring things to a head.
Forward! Ho!
Captain, don't you think we ought to be riding down in the gullies out of sight? Every engine in the country will spot us up here.
I want any advice from you, Stringer. I'll ask for it.
you've done a good job, Tom. I know it wasn't easy to keep your eyes on the Indians when you knew that one of your own men had a pistol pointed at the back of your head.
Well, at least when I turned around, I had a pretty good idea where to look. George was keeping his eyes on Forsyth, and I'd kept track of Owens.
And Sergeant Stringer?
Once I heard him pop off, I didn't suspect him any longer. You see, unlike Owens, he had a safety valve.
Wonder what made Owens do it.
I think I know now. I didn't realize before, but he was jealous of me. Why, he even tried to discourage my engagement to Captain Carter. I didn't pay any attention to him at the time, just thought he was a silly kid.
That's not your fault, Carrie. Owens was jealous of Carter, but he never would have killed him if it hadn't been for the whippings. When his scheme worked so well, he decided to use it again.
Well, it's all over now.
Guess maybe I earned an extra stripe, Sir? Oh, heck, Smitty.
You know, George, I think you'd make an excellent civilian.
Now, I wonder if I might prevail upon you two to accept one more serious assignment for me.
Of course, Colonel.
I think it'll do Carrie good to go back east for a while. Would you and George mind escorting her to the stagecoach line in Denver?
Colonel, that's the nicest assignment we've ever had.
Dinner?
Corporal George Romack was eager to get his discharge from the Army. But I must admit, for some reason or other, I wasn't in any rush at all to get back to civilian life.
You're going to be sorry for that, Wilbur.
Please forgive me, Stella. I'm afraid I lost my temper. You shouldn't have laughed at me.
Why not? The idea of the righteous Judge Harrington trying to buy back his honor. Oh, my dear, it's very funny.
I don't like to resort to the persuasion of money, but I've come to learn it's the only thing you understand.
The answer is no. I've got what I want, and I intend to hang on, so you might as well make the best of it.
I'm not going to argue with you, Stella. I've tried all I can to be reasonable to make you understand. I've pleaded with you. I've even begged. But that's all over now. What's left of my pride won't let me go on any longer. Deceiving my family, destroying my self-respect.
Your self-respect? Well, the only respectable thing about you is that title of yours. And how long do you think you're going to have that once I open up my mouth about us?
What a blind fool I've been.
You think I'm bluffing, don't you? Well, you just wait and see. Because nobody drops Stella Dean. When I get through with you, your name won't be fit for the gutter. I'll see that they knock you off that bench so fast you won't know what hit you. The mighty judge.
Time to call a halt, gentlemen. We'll recess until after lunch.
Morning, Judge.
Hello, Smitty. What can I do for you?
Chief wanted me to bring this over. It just came in.
What is it?
Well, the Supreme Court's upheld you in the Lombardi case. It's quite a victory for the force.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Whenever we can make a murder conviction stand up on circumstantial evidence, it adds a lot of new teeth to the law.
Yes, it does.
Howdy, Smitty. How's the strong ride over the law?
It's getting stronger by the minute. And let that be a warning to you.
As of today, the Denver police force can sit back and relax. I've become a reformed, law-abiding citizen.
I'll keep your secret.
Oh, it's true. You find this hard to believe, Smitty, but the most wonderful girl in the world has just agreed to become my wife.
Marry you? She must be out of her mind.
I told her the same thing, but it didn't do me a bit of good.
That's great, Chris. Who's the unlucky girl?
Well, I better spring it on the judge first.
Well, good luck.
It can't be that serious.
Hello, son. I'm glad you stopped by. I've been thinking about you.
Anything in particular?
Well, just that we haven't seen much of each other lately. I guess it's my fault as much as yours. What can I do for you?
Well, I've come to plead a case.
Well, I'll try to see that you get a fair hearing. Make yourself comfortable. Trouble, Chris?
Maybe. Dad, I'm going to marry Alice Kirby.
Well, I'd hardly put that under the heading of trouble. Alice is a fine girl. The Kirbys are an excellent family.
Well, that's what I came to talk to you about, Dad. The Kirbys.
What about them?
Dad, I know I haven't been exactly the kind of a son you'd stand up and cheer about. I've done a lot of crazy, wild things in my life and been in some pretty touchy scrapes. But there's one thing I've been more than careful to avoid. Doing anything that might bring shame or scandal to the Harringtons. I want to do as much for the Kirbys.
Meaning what, Chris?
Meaning Stella Dean.
What do you know about Stella Dean?
That you're in love with her? And that you've been seeing her on the sly for a long time.
I didn't know that spying was one of your accomplishments, Chris.
It isn't, Dad. It's just that I happen to know Stella Dean. I've known her for a long time.
Why have you waited until now?
It wasn't important until now.
Only when it directly affected you, huh? I'm disappointed, son. I'd hoped that my conduct accounted for something, even if you didn't stand to lose by it.
You're wrong, Dad. It hurt a lot more than you'll ever know. You see, I happen to think that Mother's a pretty wonderful woman.
I'd be the last to deny that. Chris, I can hardly expect you to believe this. I'm not sure I have the right to even ask you, but if there was once something between Stella and myself, it no longer exists. She will never again come between your mother and me.
Have you told that to her?
Yes, Chris. I told her. She wasn't prepared to accept it, however.
You mean she refused to let you go?
Yes.
Let me talk to her, Dad.
No. The responsibility is mine, son.
All right, Dad. Now I've got to go out to the Kirbys. I just wanted to have this talk before breaking the news to Alice's folks.
about this, Chris? You usually go around with an empty wallet in your pocket?
Not usually.
We found a lot of money near the body. Isn't it a fact, Harrington, that money came from this wallet? That you went to that cottage specifically to buy your way out?
No, that's not true.
All right, Chris. Why did you go there? I want the truth.
I told you the truth. I went there to tell Stella I was going to marry Alice Kirby.
You said you and Stella were only friends.
We were.
Why was it so important that you tell her about your wedding plans?
Let's try this besides, Harrington. Stella Dean loved you. You told her about the Kirby girl. She threw a fit and refused to let you off the hook. There was an argument and you killed her.
No, that's not the way it was at all. Stella and I were only friends, nothing more.
Oh, come on, Harrington. Stella Dean wasn't the platonic friendship type, and you know it. She played the game one way, for keeps.
That's not true.
Boy, I wish I had your recipe, Harrington. Must take a lot of doing to keep two women on the string at the same time.
And during this time, she never mentioned anyone else that might have had a motive?
Chris, I came as quickly as I could. I know you had nothing to do with it, darling. I know it.
Alice, you shouldn't have come here.
Miss Kirby, as long as you're here, we'd like to ask you some questions, too, if you don't mind. You want to step in the chief's office?
All right.
You sit down, please.
Sorry to inconvenience you, Miss Kirby.
I'll do anything I can to help Chris. Anything.
We know how you feel.
Alice, how well did you know Stella Dean?
I didn't know her at all.
Were you aware of the fact that Chris knew her?
No, he never mentioned it.
You two only became engaged today, didn't you?
Yes, this morning.
When he proposed to you and you accepted, what did he say?
He was very pleased.
I'm sure he was, but what exactly did he say?
I don't know quite what you mean.
Well, for example, did he want to go directly to your folks and tell them the good news?
No, he said he had something important he had to do first.
But he didn't say what it was.
Just that it couldn't wait. That the success of our marriage might well depend on it. Well, he seemed worried, so I didn't think I should question him about it.
And then he left to do whatever it was he had to do?
Yes.
Did you see him again after that?
No.
Thank you, Alice.
Chris didn't do it, Tom. He couldn't do such a thing.
Murder? My son accused of murder?
He hasn't been accused of anything yet, Judge. He's just being held as a suspect.
Why? Because he's been involved in a few harmless scrapes? He had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
And there's nothing to worry about. We have to explore every possibility. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone. You'll need your help, Judge.
Isn't it? He's in some kind of trouble.
Yes, ma'am, I'm afraid he is. But I'm sure he can depend on his father. We'll be waiting in the chief's office.
Wilbur?
He's been accused of murder.
Oh, no. Not true. He couldn't.
No, Martha. Chris could never do such a thing.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to see that they get the man they want, and it won't be our son. You have my word.
Chris, I'm sorry. I don't have to tell you how I felt about your father. He's one of the finest men I ever knew.
Now, you've got yourself a real murderer. A man who killed his father.
Now, look, what happened was purely an accident. Now, Jess Kirby's going to defend you. He's waiting in there with your mother.
If I can't convince anybody else I'm innocent, what chance have I got with him?
There's one thing you don't seem to understand. Proving a man's innocence is as much a part of our job as proving his guilt. But so far, you haven't given us one thing to go on. Not one.
I gave you my word I didn't do it.
That isn't enough. You know, it's the hardest thing in the world for a man to get himself accused of a crime unless he's either involved in it or else hiding the truth. Now, which is it with you? Remember this, Chris. If you are covering up for someone, you're guilty of a crime your father despised above all others. Your lawyer's waiting.
Then, as far as you know, there's no one else who might have had a motive for the crime. We checked every known possibility. Friends, employers, even waiters at the Golden Parrot.
Well, that doesn't leave me very much, does it?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Kirby.
Are you all right, son?
I'm all right, Mother.
We're here to help you, just as your father would have done.
This has been quite a shock to all of us, Chris. As Alice's father, I feel compelled to do everything I can for you. I think we should have a talk in private.
I can only tell you what I've already told them. I had nothing to do with it.
Chris, Chief Richards here has briefed me on the evidence. It's mighty damaging. I'm sure you realize that.
I told them the truth. I didn't kill her. I swear I didn't.
Who did?
I don't know.
Will you swear to that, too? Chris, I asked you a question.
Chris, you do know. You know who killed that girl.
No. No.
Chris, you've got to tell me who it was. Who was it? Who?
I told you I don't know now. Now leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
Chris, men have been put to death on a lot less evidence than we have against you right now. Now, who killed that girl?
His last words to me were about you, Mother. He loved you very much. He swore that she'd never again come between you. That's why he had to kill her.
Chris, your own father. How could you? May God forgive you.
The graveyards are filled with people who couldn't call you a liar. Why did you have to pick a man like your father?
They don't believe me. I told them the truth, and they don't believe me.
Jim.
Sheesh. I thought I'd seen everything. But this does it.
I'll say one thing. It was a great performance. He'd had 1,000 deaths before he lit the fuse.
But why would a guy go through so much trouble for a defense that ain't gonna help him at all?
That's where you're wrong, George. It can help him. One man that could have refuted his word is dead. Leaves room for a reasonable doubt. The difference between life and death. And what do you say, Smitty?
I say it's just fantastic enough to be true.
You don't mean you really believe him?
You heard what the chief said. If the boy was out to create a reasonable doubt, that's what he's done. Come on, George. If we could prove that the judge had been at Stella Dean's, Chris's claim wouldn't seem so fantastic after all.
Had to be moving to bust it up like that, huh?
The mark of a loose tire bolt would be as good as an eyewitness.
Looks like Stella took her Harringtons and pears. Judge was here all right.
Did you find the wheel prints?
Yeah, 2 sets of them. One matches the Harrington buggy, loose bolt and all. Other set probably made by the man with the kindling wood. Looks like you had yourself a good hunch, Smitty.
Yeah, hunch is all it is. All we know is that Harrington's rig was here. Doesn't prove murder or that the judge even knew Stella.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't drape herself in a coat like this on her salary.
Yes, this is mine, too.
You're sure about that?
I've been a dressmaker for 18 years. I certainly ought to know my own creations.
You say Miss Dean never brought anyone else with her into the shop?
No, she always came in alone.
Well, how about this?
Oh, good heavens, no. I couldn't possibly afford to carry merchandise like that.
Who could?
Let me see. Hillman's in Cheyenne would be the closest.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, this is our coat. There's no question about it.
Mrs. Warner, are you the only sales lady in the fur department of the Hillman Company?
No, there are 2 others, but being in charge of the department, I make it a point to supervise each sale. We like to ensure the satisfaction of every customer.
I see. You say you remember this particular transaction. Was the lady alone?
No, there was a gentleman with her.
Can you describe him?
Well, he was a distinguished-looking man, in his 50s, perhaps. Very attractive and very pleasant.
Will this be the man?
Yes, that's him, all right.
You're sure?
Absolutely.
Did he pay cash for the coat?
Now, as I recall, he gave me a bank draft. Yes, it was a draft. I remember getting Mr. Hillman to approve it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warner. You've been very helpful.
Not at all. Good day.
Well?
Martha Harrington never owned a fur coat. And Judge Harrington drew out $1,000 the morning of the murder.
$1,000. It's exactly the amount we found at the cottage. I guess I have to concede the boy was telling the truth.
Looks like that does it, huh, Smitty?
As soon as we get our hands on that bank draft.
Boy, was I wrong about that Harrington kid. Here I thought we had an open and shut case.
There's no such thing as an open and shut case, George. Just open and shut minds. Even when things looked hopeless for Chris, Alice's loyalty had never wavered. It was a real pleasure to place Chris in her custody. Romack and I were at Ralph Miller's party that night because he'd received a threatening letter. And we tried to watch everyone who came anywhere near the high-pressure stock promoter. There was Bill Tidrow and Arnold Bowser, Miller's wife, Tina, and his engineer, Vincent Polesdale, Dr. Johnson, his personal physician, and finally, Seth Mullaney, who was having a drink with the threatened man. Only 6 who were anywhere near Miller that night, just before it happened.
They say a man only gets one chance to make it big. I don't hold with that. I'm opening the door for you again, Seth.
Well, it slammed shut in my face pretty hard before, Mr. Miller. I don't know whether my nose could take it a second time.
Didn't hurt your eyes any, did it?
How do you mean?
There's gold there this time. You saw it yourself. Thousands of nuggets, just sitting there like chubby little orphans, waiting to be adopted. And day after tomorrow, I launch a public sale of stock in this strike. Don't get left behind, Seth.
I'm sure of it.
It's used as a painkiller, isn't it?
Yes, and killer, period, when a strong enough dose is administered.
How strong?
10/40ths of a grain. Feeling any better, Mr. Miller?
You're a great help, aren't you, Smith?
You should be grateful you're alive.
To who? The man who tried to kill me?
Yes, be thankful he didn't know enough about the poison he used.
You know, I warned you about this yesterday. Man receives a murder note. It doesn't make sense for him to throw a big party the next day. Especially when you admit that half the people you invited could have sent this note.
I'm putting a big campaign into motion. Nothing gets in the way of that.
Your death would.
That's why you're here, isn't it? To see that that doesn't happen.
I can't without your help and information.
Like what?
Like why this note accuses you of murder.
Let me tell you something, Smith. When a man climbs to the top, he has to crawl over some others. That means some of them may fall.
You finished, Doctor?
Yes, however, I don't recommend any more shocks of this kind. I can't guarantee your heart will withstand them, Mr. Miller.
You tell him that, not me. 2 more days, Smith.
And then what?
Then I call in my own police force.
You bring any hired guns into town, Mr. Miller, they wind up in jail.
Well, Smith, when you're through talking to my wife, send her up here, huh? I want to share in her happiness, knowing that I'm still alive.
Dr. Johnson said my husband's out of danger.
Yes, ma'am, I suppose he is. He wants to see you.
Thank you.
What now? Pay your money and take your choice?
We only have to pick 1 out of 6, George.
What's the matter? You lose count, Smitty? It's more than 20 people here tonight.
Only 6 of them are close enough to Miller to poison that drink.
He had other drinks, though.
Fast as that drug works, he would have shown it immediately if he'd been poisoned earlier.
You pick him out then, and I'll collar him.
It wouldn't help us very much. I want to talk to Miller again after he calms down. You stick here tonight. Tomorrow, when he gets to feeling better, you bring him into the office.
Smitty, you figure that note he got's telling the truth?
I don't know. If it is, we'll have to try to keep a murderer from being murdered.
You know, seems there's something unlawful about that.
Ride all the way in town just because he wants to talk, huh? We'll talk, all right. We'll talk about my plans for handling this affair.
Now, what's you getting so riled up at Smitty for, Mr. Miller?
Because I never could stand incompetence, that's why.
Now, if there's one thing I'd say Smitty never had too much of, that'd be it.
Take a look at this. I want Smith out here fast. Move!
Take it down, George.
You know, it's a darn good thing you didn't grow an inch taller during the night, Mr. Miller. The way this gun's angled.
Who else had a key to that tack room?
No one. This is the only key there is.
How many at that party would know about that?
I couldn't say. Most of those people have been out to my ranch many times before. What's this?
One of those 6 people poisoned your drink.
How do you know?
I was there, remember? No one else was close enough.
You got my wife's name on this list.
I gathered last night you're not too close.
You gathered right. We're about as close as our ages.
Well, poison is a woman's weapon, but rigging that gun, I don't know.
You don't know her. And sending that note would give her just about the kind of kick she likes.
That's a pretty big chance to take just for kicks.
You still got it up here maybe I did a killing, huh?
Did you?
I've had about enough out of you, Smith. If my wife sent that note, I'll find out. If any of these others did, they'll be taken care of, too.
5 of the people on this note are innocent. Any harm comes to any one of them, I'm going to hold you responsible.
You better get some action fast.
I could put you in jail and hold you in protective custody until the time limit runs out.
That's impossible. I'm launching a stock sale in a big mining venture. I'm not going to delay matters and discourage potential buyers.
One more day of him, and you can add my name to that list.
You just stick with him, George. Who knows? Maybe he'll let you in on a little of that gold stock.
That'll be the day.
I had made an intensive investigation of Miller's past. His life read like an open book, with the first chapters torn out. For 12 years, he'd been famous for his stock, land, and mining promotions. Before that, nothing. She's not here yet.
This Vincent Posdell.
You know, that's real interesting. Miller's getting ready to start his campaign. The most important man in his pitch. The mining engineer's nowhere around.
What's the matter?
If you wanted to kill Miller today and wanted to be miles away when it happened, how would you do it?
You mean a bomb?
Posdale's a mining engineer.
He knows explosives.
He's not here. under here. What is this? What's going on here? There's a bomb right under you, Miss Miller.
Get out of here, George. You too, Chief.
Now, Chief.
What kind is it?
I don't know, George. Looks like some sort of an acid reactor.
Smith, you've got to find the one who did this. Whoever it is must be loco. Chief, you've got to get him.
We will. You better stick with me, Mr. Miller. Looks like you were right about Posdell. You better go pick him up.
Hello, Smith.
May we come in?
Well, you're certainly welcome. I was just leaving for town.
That figures. You must have wanted Miller awful bad to be willing to blow up half the town to get him.
What's he talking about?
This bomb planted under that platform.
Where'd you say it was?
You ought to know.
Right under Miller's seat.
Whoever put it there made a serious miscalculation. This bomb could have never exploded. Not nearly enough nitric acid to eat through the plate. Whoever made this bomb didn't know much about acid.
Why weren't you at the sale, Posdale?
Miller knows why.
If you don't mind, I'd like to know why.
Well, that selling of the mining stock was a bit premature.
What do you mean?
It's my belief that the strike we made is all on the surface.
Did he salt that mine?
No, he didn't have to. Top was good enough. But he wouldn't let me take any more samplings. Yesterday, I told him to get another engineer.
And a new wife?
Just what do you mean by that?
Why don't you ask her to come out?
Stop it! Stop it!
Please, Smith, don't take her in. Miller will kill her.
He knows about you, too?
There's nothing to know. But he won't think so if you take us in together.
Wonder what he'll think if you take a trip together.
Well, sure I was leaving, but alone.
It's no use, Vincent. They'll find my things in the carriage.
Let's go.
Smith, I swear to you, neither of us had anything to do with trying to murder Miller.
So that's the way it is.
Hold it, Miller.
That's right, Smith. She's all yours now. Posdell, you not only wanted to kill me, you tried to ruin my good name, too.
I didn't send you that note, Miller.
You mean he hasn't confessed yet?
I wouldn't worry about that.
Well, you cost me a lot today. But it's going to cost you a good price, too. About 20 years. I hope you have a lot of fun together, with all those bars between you. Where's Smith? Smith!
What is it now? Where'd you find it?
Under my door.
Well, it looks like your wife and Posdell are going to have a shorter sentence than you figured. They've been under arrest since noon yesterday.
And the other four were at that gathering, so one of them had planted the bomb. But no, they were endangering their own lives.
How can you be so sure which one of them did it? You said there were 6 people close enough to poison my drink. How do you know it was one of those 6?
If Smitty says there were only 6 people, you can take his word for it.
You didn't meet any of those 6 people before you came to Denver?
Not that I remember.
Well, one of them sure remembers meeting you. Doesn't seem to like the memory very much.
Eight o'clock. Giving himself just 3 hours to wipe out that memory.
Well, what are you going to do? Just leave them loose until 11 o'clock so they can kill me? Why didn't you arrest them? Throw them in jail.
That's exactly what we plan to do. I think you better stay right here, too.
That's all right with me.
Put Mr. Miller in cell 3, Jim. But the officer found no one at home at Bill Tedrow's house. The place was deserted. George Romack arrived at Mulaney's ranch to find that the owner had ridden off an hour before. Joe Forbes drew a blank at Arnold Bowser's place. And I'd had the same results when I'd called to bring in Dr. Johnson.
What do you mean you couldn't find them? You've got to find them.
Take it easy. I promise you'll have every possible protection.
Some protection.
I better stay in with him, Chief.
Shut that door! Shut that door!
Stay away from that window, if I were you.
Smith. A bomb. What if you find it another bomb?
The note said wherever you'd be, remember? How did he know you'd be here? Won't be long now. That's one of the guards. One up there, too. You're well protected, Mr. Miller.
There's two of them in there. Four of them out there. There's police all around me. Armed police. It's impossible for them to get me. It's impossible. What time is it? What time is it?
One minute to 11. Now I can tell you, Miller. It was September 12th, 19 years ago, on a train between Kansas City and St. Joe, Missouri. You and some others robbed the passengers, and you killed the uncle of a boy who was on that train. That boy grew up. He's about my age now, and about my build. He found you through that scar on your forehead.
It was you all along. No, don't kill me. I did it.
Miller signed a full confession. He still doesn't know who it was he killed on that train.
I want to thank all of you for your patience, and especially you, Mulaney, for playing along with us.
You've no idea how hard it is to hide out in this town when the whole Denver police force is trying to arrest you.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, it worked, Doctor.
How did you know?
I checked into your background. I found out about that train robbery and your uncle.
What made you suspicious of me?
3 attempts on a man's life, and they all failed. Purposely.
I didn't want to kill him. Just frighten him into confessing. But I still don't see how you guessed it was me.
Who else around here would know more about chemicals and drugs than a doctor? Quencher was what you said about Miller's heart. After all I saw him go through, he suffered everything but a heart attack.
There's something I have to know. Who wrote that second note to Miller?
Well, after I became convinced that the man who wrote the first one was only trying to get Miller to confess, I decided to help. So I used the best weapon against a man possible. The man himself.
What's going on here? I don't go nosing around where you don't belong, friend. I saw it first.
You got a name, Mr.
Bewley. Ed Bewley.
Take it easy now. We're police officers.
You want to prefer charges, miss?
No. He really didn't do anything. I guess he thought I was...
All right. You got lucky this time. Now get out of here. Where were you headed, miss?
Laughlin. Charlotte Laughlin. The driver suggested the Denver House Hotel. You think that's all right?
Yes, that's fine. Come on, we'll walk you over there. I think you'll like it here.
Take this, Smitty. I'll get you the best room in the house.
Miss Laughlin, you said you came here looking for your mother.
Yes, that's right. Oh, I have a picture of her. The only one I have. Oh, I do hope you can help me find her. Isn't she beautiful?
She certainly is. When was this taken?
About 15 years ago. Have you ever seen her?
No. But she would look a lot different now. What makes you think she's in Denver?
She has to be. If she isn't, I don't know where else to look. You see, ever since I was separated from my mother 13 years ago, I've received a yearly allowance. After my guardian, Cousin Ada, died this summer, the money came directly to me. It was a draft on the Denver bank.
You know who sent it?
A man I'd never heard of before. His name is Clay Weatherby. I didn't know his address, of course, but I wrote to him general delivery, asking him if he knew anything about my mother. But I never heard from him.
13 years ago. You must have been about 5 years old then.
Yes. I was 5. Mother had just given me a doll for my 5th birthday.
What brought about the separation?
My mother and father were entertainers on the Mississippi River boats. There was an accident of some kind, and my father was killed. That's when I was taken away to live with Cousin Ada. They said that my mother died later.
Apparently you don't believe that.
I never have. I've always known she was alive somewhere, and we'd be together again.
I think we can find out who's been sending the money. But don't build your hopes up too high. That'll prove your mother's still alive.
I know she is, Mr. Smith. I just know she is.
Well, your room's ready.
Thank you.
George, here's a picture of Charlotte's mother. Have you ever seen her?
No. But I know this song. You know that blind piano player of the Imperial Saloon? Jackie Rouge? Plays it all the time. Never heard it anywhere else, though. Funny.
Jackie Rouge. Name mean anything to you?
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's the start anyway. Mind if I take this with me? I know you must be tired. You've had a long trip. Why don't you get some rest, and we'll look in first thing in the morning, see how you make it out. Good night.
Take your key, miss.
Miss, take kindly to some advice. You don't belong in Denver. No young girl does who's alone and unprotected. Go back where you came from, miss, before it's too late.
Refreshment for you, Jackie.
Oh. Thank you, friend. Any little tune you might like to hear?
Fact is, we do have some music with us, Jackie.
Well, mostly I play by ear. I'm afraid I'm a mite slow at sight reading.
Yeah, but I think you know this one, though. It's called Make Me Care.
Oh, I don't think I know that one.
Well, sure you do. I've heard you play it.
Maybe he doesn't know it by that name, George.
Oh, it goes something like this. La-dee-da-da-da, la-da-dum, la-da-da-da-dee-dee-dum.
You recognize it now?
Sure. I just never did know the name of that.
Tell me that you really care. Show me that you really want me. Make me care. Put your arms around me, honey. Hold me close and hold me tight. Oh, make me know it. Really show it.
Jackie, this Make Me Care tune. Where'd you pick it up?
Oh, I rattled around the country quite a lot before the lights went out. Picked up a good deal of music on the way, but I never could fit any one particular tune to any one particular place.
You ever travel on the Mississippi?
Yes. A time or two.
This tune was written for a singer by the name of Bella Laughlin. I hear she used to sing on the riverboats. Ever bump into her?
No, I never knew anybody by that name.
All right, Jackie. Thanks anyway.
Sure thing. Anytime.
Mr. Smith, I'm so glad you're here. After you left last night, a man warned me to leave Denver, or something bad would happen to me. Then during the night, someone tried to break into my room. I'm frightened.
This man who warned you, what did he look like?
He was big, with deep-set eyes, and a hawk-shaped nose.
You know anyone that fits that description?
No, I don't.
I'd know him if I ever saw him again.
The bank must be open by now. I want to see what they have to say about that draft. You be all right here for a little while?
I'm fine now. Thank you.
We'll meet you back here for lunch.
You're taking a real interest in this case, ain't you, Smitty?
I just feel sorry for the poor girl, that's all.
Yeah, sure. Think she's making it all up?
No, I don't think so, George. Someone wants her out of town, that's for sure, but right now I'd hate to guess why.
Maybe it's on account of her mother. Think she's still alive?
The girl believes it so strongly, she's about to swing me around to her way of thinking. I didn't really expect to find out much at the bank. I was agreeably surprised. A bank teller remembered Charlotte's bank draft and the man who purchased it. From the description he gave me, Clay Weatherby was the same man who had warned her to get out of Denver.
It's all so confusing. Why would this Clay Weatherby send me money and then try to frighten me out of town?
If we knew that, we'd have the answer to this whole riddle.
Do you think all of this has some meaning? That I'll find my mother soon?
Now, don't start getting your hopes built up too high. But there is a possibility.
I'll never lose hope.
You think this all ties in together, Smitty? Weatherby warning, blind piano player. He knew your mother all right. He didn't want to let on to us that he did.
And that man Bewley last night. Wouldn't be surprised if he was mixed up in it. It all fits into a plan to get Charlotte out of Denver.
But why would he want her out of Denver? He's only a guard out at the Broderick place.
Why didn't you tell me this before, George?
I didn't think it was important.
Is it?
Hard to say. It just might be.
Broderick. Who is he?
Oh, he owns a ranch north of here. Keeps it guarded like a mint. You know he's got armed guards patrolling that place day and night? And some folks say the place is haunted.
George.
All right, so you don't believe in ghosts.
No, I don't. But it might be interesting to pay Mr. Broderick a visit.
What's the matter?
Thought I heard a horse up ahead of us.
I wouldn't be surprised, though. Blaine country's like one big ambush.
Come from? You ain't wanted here.
Still, George.
Oh, don't worry, partner. I don't think I could if I wanted to. It's beginning to work.
Paul must have knocked him out.
All right, let's see what you're guarding so carefully around here.
Who are these men?
They was trespassing, Mr. Broderick, and they jumped us.
You two get on back to your posts. Now, Bewley, I want to hear more about this. May I ask who you gentlemen are and what you're doing here?
We're detectives on the Denver police force. We want to talk to you about Charlotte Laughlin.
Yes, I knew she'd come. Eventually, of course. Though I tried to head her off for her own good.
That why this monkey tried to scare her half to death last night in an alley?
Is that true?
I wasn't going to hurt her, Mr. Broderick, but you said you didn't want to stay in Denver.
You're through. I never want to see your face again. Now get off my land.
Charlotte told us her father was killed accidentally.
Bella's first husband was killed by Bella's own hand.
You mean she murdered him?
Not murder. It was self-defense. The man she married was an animal. It's the only way I can describe him. Any other woman would have left him 100 times over. But not Bella. Not until he began mistreating their child. Then she knew there was nothing else to do. But when she tried to leave, he threatened to kill her and the child, too. Thank you. Afterward, Bella knew she couldn't keep her daughter with her and submit her to the shame and humiliation of the gossip that could never be stilled. So she put her daughter in the hands of a guardian and came here with me. And she became my wife.
You've been paying Charlotte's support ever since?
Yes, my foreman took care of it for me.
And you sent him into town to warn Charlotte to get out of Denver?
Was that more cruel than letting the girl unearth all the old sorrows her mother tried to keep from her? Believe me, I only want what's best for the girl.
I think she's old enough to decide that for herself. Seeing her mother again might make up for all the rest of it.
Would it, Mr. Smith? Come this way, please. There she is, my Bella. Could she really make Charlotte happy now? Charlotte was told the truth about her mother, gentlemen. Bella Laughlin died 10 years ago. This has been a trying evening, gentlemen. Send her back home, please. Believe me, it's for the best. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Hey, why are we stopping here?
I'm going to wait for a little while, and I'm going back there.
Why? Didn't you believe his story?
Oh, his story was fine. I bet you'd find it's even documented if you wanted to check the records.
So, what's the trouble?
Fellow Broderick. Gentleman through and through, isn't he?
Yeah.
Why didn't he invite us into the house? Cold night like this. Meets us on the front steps and gets us away as fast as he can.
Yeah. I wonder why.
That's what I'm going to try to find out when we go to sleep back there.
Hey, Smitty, Buggy's coming. I'll be doggone. Broderick's foreman and Jackie Rouge.
Where you are. We could kill you, you know. Claim you forced your way in. We thought you were burglars.
Yes, you could. But you won't, will you, Mr. Broderick? You've done everything else to keep Bella Laughlin secret. But you're no murderer. Now, will you take us to Bella?
Is that you, Mr. Broderick?
Yes, Jackie.
She's nice and quiet tonight, Mr. Broderick. She's been telling me about her little girl again.
She's been like this ever since that terrible night 15 years ago. She hasn't changed since then. Will always be like that.
Do you think that's right, Broderick? For you to decide that alone? Don't you think she ought to be given a chance to come back to the real world? And back to her daughter, Charlotte?
Charlotte? Did you come to see my baby? Isn't her hair wonderful? So soft. Will it always be this fine? I wonder. Will it always be like angel's hair?
I had to keep her like this, don't you see?
I still don't think it's right. Give it some thought, will you?
What will I say to her? I'm afraid I'll say the wrong thing.
I don't think it'll make a bit of difference at first, till she gets used to having you back again.
Mama, don't you know me? It's Charlotte. It's your Charlotte, grown up. Mama.
To reality for Bella Laughlin. But maybe, with her daughter's help, she'd make it.